There we go. Okay, no, what happened was OBS reset the broadcast stream mix audio output device, and it set it to default.
Which could be anything.
Or in this case, nothing. So, yeah, I'm looking at my routing table being like, it's all correct. Why is it not working? Okay. Anyway, hello, welcome to my channel. Vice Rhino here. Cirrus over there. Yeah, I actually was aware of this problem slightly before going live. There was, like, within the last 10 seconds, I was like, oh shit, they're not going to be able to hear us, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I was already on the case.
And then we were here.
And then we were here. And, Cirrus, you want to tell my chat what you're eating?
I'm eating pizza.
Yeah, so are all of them.
They're all eating pizza too?
They are all eating pizza too.
Everybody in chat?
Pretty much, yeah. Everybody that I've seen mention what food they're eating.
Huh.
So, it's a big old pizza party here.
I got sick last night. That's why I didn't stream last night. I should have made an announcement about it, but I didn't. So I got really sick last night, and it's upper respiratory, so my throat was hurting a ton. So it's like, okay, well, when that happens, all of my wants for personal health go out the window. All of my wants for low-calorie food go out the window. It's now time for sugar and pizza. It's time for comfort foods that make me feel good and give me the energy to do my stuff. So I got
because of renovations, I've been without running water in the kitchen for the last 2 weeks. So I have also.
So you've been doing the same.
I've been doing the same, but for different reasons.
So I got me and Saki two large pizzas from Domino's and some cinnamon bites, and got her some lava cakes. And I'm just currently in the reheated pizza mode for today because I woke up late because my body. I woke up at noon and my body went, That was 8 hours of sleep.
Okay.
You don't understand. That's not enough.
Progress
Oh,
on it. No, it's not they let us occupy without water. It's that they let us occupy and then we hired a contractor and said, hey, redo the kitchen. And part of that involves taking out the sink, which if they don't shut off the water to that area of the kitchen when they do that, it makes a mess. So we still have water. We can still shower. We still can drink water and stuff like that, but it's a pain in the ass having to like wash dishes in the laundry sink in the basement. So we've just been doing a lot of takeout and microwavable food and disposable plates. So, yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so renovation's almost over though. We actually do have running water now. They installed the sink today, and that makes me happy.
Good.
Still haven't gotten out any of the actual dishes yet. So I'm like, oh, they need to connect the dishwasher to power, and all of the dishes need washing because they were in dirty boxes and crap. So
I haven't had a dishwasher for years. I've just always hand washed.
we are a family of 7.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't happening.
That just absolutely not.
Nope. Mm-mm.
Fair enough.
And it's like, and I know a lot of people would be like, oh, but you have kids. They need to learn how to be responsible human beings. So have kids wash the dishes for you.
You do not want your kids washing your dishes if the goal is to have them clean.
Yeah, that is even more difficult than just doing it all myself. And yes, we still do that because we do want them to grow up to be responsible adults. And Spoonbill of Adam says actually had a shawarma. So there you go. Not everybody's doing pizza.
I haven't had shawarma in a while. I should go get some shawarma.
There's a restaurant in Niagara that on their sign, they advertise that they are the world's longest shawarma. I didn't know that length was a measurement that you did for shawarma.
I mean, shawarma is basically just a freaking falafel burrito.
Yeah, but like, does being longer make it better?
It's the same way that a hero sub sandwich makes it better. You just get it big, long, and girthy.
Length isn't everything, Zerus.
I mean, you've got to be able to hit the... Anyway.
Staff is popping into... So if you're in the U.S., please check if you have a local DSA chapter. I don't know what the DSA is, but I trust Staff enough.
Democratic Socialist of America. It's pinned in my chat right now.
Okay, there you go. I mean, Artemis says, I love Dutch food. I just haven't tried the Dutch frikadeller. Tell you what, Artemis, I make a pretty mean Dutch oven. Okay. Yeah, food. I had A&W for dinner.
I haven't had A&W in a while. I remember really liking it, though.
The burgers aren't great, but I had the spicy chicken burger, which was actually pretty good.
They have a spicy chicken burger?
Yeah. Well,
so it's just ground chicken, but it's spicy?
Well, it's like a chicken sandwich. I don't know if you guys have a difference between chicken burgers and chicken sandwiches.
So a chicken burger is ground meat in a burger patty and fried like a burger, usually on a skillet or like frozen beforehand so that you can put it on a grill.
Mm-hmm.
And then a chicken sandwich would be an actual like hunk of chicken breast that has been battered and fried, and that's the thing.
See, I would call both of those chicken burgers.
But they're two very different meals. They're different in taste, they're different in texture.
It's chicken.
No.
See,
we're not doing this.
For me, chicken sandwich is like cold chicken. Is leftover chicken from the roast chicken the night before. It's deli meat chicken. That's a chicken sandwich. A chicken burger is if it's hot and breaded.
Okay, see, that sounds like an interesting distinction. Stop. No, bad and wrong. Maybe it's just because I'm American, where I'm just like, no, a burger is this specific thing. It's not a grouping of foods.
Spoonbill of Adam says, household of one with a dishwasher. They save time, they're more efficient, plus I'm lazy, I use it at least weekly. Shawarma's big in Ottawa. I agree. I was actually surprised the first time, like after I had a dishwasher for a little while, and then that one broke down and I had to wash dishes by hand. I was shocked how much my water bill went up. Because everybody's like, oh no, dishwashers use so much more water. And if you only have a few dishes or whatever, it's like, no, it's so much better. And like, yeah, being lazy, but like we sometimes have to run two loads a day. But yeah. Oh, just a second. I'm getting I'm fuck, I forget how to toss off to my correspondent person. There's an interview coming.
Maybe you should
we got
toss
news.
off.
There's news. There's an interview coming. News. Good evening, everyone. I am joined tonight by Senator John Kennedy. Good evening, Senator. Welcome to Twit Tweets.
I like omelets.
Indeed, as do I.
I mean, I really like omelets. I could eat an omelet at every meal.
Wow, you must really like omelets.
I like omelets better than sex.
Senator, what about the fact that the price of eggs is rising to a point where paying for sex will be cheaper than your thrice daily omelet?
The tofu-eating wokarati at the USAID are screaming like they're part of a prison riot.
Could it be possible, Senator, that they just like omelets as much as you do and feel that they need to account for the price of eggs in their budget?
They don't want us reviewing the spending.
But Senator, if you can treat yourself to as many omelets as you like, wouldn't it just be fair for them to have an omelet line item in their budget?
You know, call somebody who cares. Yeah, they better get used to this.
Well, that's all the time we have tonight. Thank you for that enlightening conversation, Senator Kennedy. Back to you, Rhino and Cirrus.
I like omelets better than sex.
Thank you,
know, I feel like
correspondent Rhino.
I feel like at that age, you like omelets better than sex because you and your partner both suck at sex.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I just saw a clip of him saying he likes omelets better than sex. I'm like, I have to do something with that.
It would be irresponsible not to.
It would be, yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense.
The
Jesus.
wokarati are coming for your sexy time with your omelets.
Is that what we're doing now? Instead of the skeptic mafia, it's the wokarati?
Sure, I guess.
I'm okay with that.
But skeptic
I
mafia
shouldn't
members
be,
get
but I
paid,
am.
don't they?
The check's in the mail.
Checks in the mail. It's always in the mail.
That's what I've heard. I have no way of proving it, but I've heard the check is in the mail. Probably.
But what they didn't tell you is that it's actually someone from Czechoslovakia.
The check is in the mail, and they
check
just
is- yes.
they just wave to you when when you open the mailbox. Hello, hi, it's me.
Spoonbill of Adam says, I wish I was allowed to pay for sex in Canada. There are loopholes. It is quasi-legal. So, yeah, I'm not encouraging anything or condoning anything, but there are ways. I don't know.
The check is in the mail. Oh, like in their butt.
And then we have Duct Tape Jake in the Czechoslovakia. So that's opening up the broad well of egg-related puns. My kid got mad at me the other day because he ran out of toothpaste, so he's been borrowing mine, but I have germ issues, so I'm like, I can't just let him use it. I have to like give it to him on something else that he can then put it on his toothbrush with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I gave it to him on a knife the other day and was like, hi, it's nice to meet you. And he was just like, oh, Papa.
He's upset. Good.
Yeah. I mean, that's classic dad joke. Anyway, news time. There we go. The Proud Boys just lost the use of their own name in the funniest way.
I wanted to cover
shit.
this story, but I'm glad that that we're covering it this way.
So this was sent to me by my anonymous source and by Fennec, because everybody wanted this to be covered.
Yeah, I had this sitting as a line for me. This was supposed to be what I covered yesterday, and then I got sick. So I was like, well, surely.
I mean, okay, I don't know the significance of the rooster on his face. I'm just like, he's got a cock in his face.
Yeah.
The Proud Boys have, like, I don't know what dog whistly thing that's supposed to be. I guarantee it's got some white supremacist undertones or overtones.
It's the Proud Boys. It's got to be something.
Yeah, but as a person who's not in the know, I look at that and I see, oh, they like to walk around with cocks on their face. Okay.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, it's funny to me that they can't sell any Proud Boys merchandise anymore.
Yep.
Because their naming rights have been taken away.
Only a church can sell their cock face mask. So anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. The Proud Boys have lost the legal right to their name to a black church that they attacked. So it's not just that it's a church, it's that it's specifically a black church. Like, it's the Metropolitan African Methodist Episcopal Church. And they now own the legal rights to their name and symbols.
Yeah. How bad do you have to fuck up for this to happen to your group?
Well, I feel like it's my understanding, like they won by default, which to me says that the Proud Boys didn't show up to court.
They were just like, this isn't important enough for us to worry about. Why would we show up to legal proceedings? Of course we have our name on things. Why would we care? And then...
Yeah, so they're trying to do the Antifa thing where it's like, oh no, we're not actually an official organization, so you can't sue us, because like filing a lawsuit against Antifa would just be weird. But like they actually have like chapters and leaders and stuff like that, whereas Antifa is kind of an actual grassroots movement.
Yeah, Antifa's closer to an ideology at this point than it is an actual movement.
Yeah, like there aren't Antifa meetings, but every meeting that is of people that are against Nazis are Antifa.
Functionally. I'm going to quickly let my cat in. He is on my air conditioner screaming at me, asking to be let in.
Sounds about right. My dog knocks on the door when she's ready to come in. She does. She just like gets up on the door and starts tapping her paw on the glass until we let her in. She really likes having access to the yard outside. Oh. Cyrus is looking at his tits. Yeah, Cyrus looks at his tits when he leaves. I mean, if I had tits, I would do the same. Just zone out and stare at them. I do like boobs. I was really kind of hoping that Cyrus would come back just in time to hear me say, I like boobs. Oh, did the stream drop out? Something happened. Hello? Is everybody there? That was weird. Okay. My OBS told me that my stream dropped out in one window, but in all the other windows it said everything was fine. Oh, there's a cat. There's a cat. Cat jumping across the screen. Also having a puffy face. Puffy face, stare at boobs. Good for puddles and your carpet. Yeah, she has not had any accidents inside the house since we moved. And we no longer have her in a diaper all the time when she's inside. So she has figured out that outside is where you pee and poop. And that she can go outside pretty much anytime she wants. I like boobs.
So,
Okay.
I just saw something terrifying, but also great.
Was it boobs? Because they can be terrifying and great. I was talking about boobs with the chat while you were gone, so.
So, okay, so I came in from letting the cat in, and I saw Saki sitting on the edge of the bed, but the only light in the room was from her computer monitors, so all I saw was just a girl's silhouette rocking back and forth on the edge of the bed because she got out of the shower and was just sitting in front of the fan. So I just see the silhouette of a person rocking back and forth on the edge of the bed. I'm like, every iota of this is terrifying in concept.
I mean, I'm just sad that you didn't acknowledge my boobs.
I mean, why would I acknowledge your boobs when I could acknowledge mine?
Yeah, that's what started this. Everybody was commenting that when you leave, you stare at your boobs. Yeah, those little blue birds are cute. Okay, so they went to Washington, and during the Proud Boys had a march in Washington, and during the march, a bunch of them, including their leader, which I find it weird that the leader of the white nationalist organization is a gentleman of Hispanic descent, Enrique Tarrio.
Yeah. I mean, it's not weird, though, because if you think about how Nicholas Fuentes and a lot of them operate, they operate as if they will not be the next ones in line. Look at Milo Yiannopoulos. He's an openly gay guy who now wants to run conversion camps.
What's extra amusing is not the right word. Interesting? Intriguing?
Fab?
Sure. But just like the fact of the matter is, if Enrique Tarrio and Nick Fuentes and people like that, if they are correct in that they will not be the next ones on the chopping block, then that demonstrates that race is a social construct rather than having its basis in genetics like the white nationalists seem to think it does.
Yep.
However, if they're wrong, then they're the next ones on the chopping block, and they were essentially being used as the face so that the people could point to them and say, like, no, we can't be racist. Look, our leader is a Hispanic person. So,
I mean, that's exactly what they do all the time. Our leader is Hispanic. Nick Fuentes says, I can't be a Nazi. I'm Hispanic. Look at me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there were famously never any Jewish collaborators with the Nazis.
Yeah, man, this night's feeling really long knivesy.
Yeah, something like that. So Tarrio was arrested on vandalism charges, and on January 4th, he was... he was arrested on January 4th, and so he was consequently not present for the January 6th riot. But he was still sentenced with seditious conspiracy for helping plan the riot. Trump pardoned him, so he's allowed to walk free now. He had 22 years was the sentence, and he's free to go now.
Isn't it great how many people who did the January 6th shit or were collaborators who got pardoned, how many of them just ended up immediately doing crimes again?
Within days, they were being arrested. They were being shot by police because they were resisting arrest. They were found with child pornography. Like, like, you keep saying that these other countries are emptying their prisons into the United States, but, like, you literally just emptied the prisons into the United States. What did you expect was going to happen?
Empty the prisons into the United States and then put all the trans people in the prisons. That's the plan.
Yeah. So anyway, they messed up the church, burned their Black Lives Matter materials, and the church sued the group and got a $2.8 million judgment as a default judgment. So again, that to me says that they just didn't show up to court. But the group, because they never showed up to court because they're trying to pull the "we're not officially a group" type of thing, they also never paid. And so lawyers for the church were like, hey, if they're not going to pay, just give us their trademark and we will call it even. And the judge was like, sure.
Just stick the needle in their eye.
Yeah. So Proud Boys are not allowed to sell any merch with its name or associated symbols without the express permission of the church full of black people. Now, I imagine that this is going to be one of those things where they just continue selling shit anyways and ignore this court order, and probably nothing will come of it. Because, like, how is the court supposed to enforce this? Like, what are they going to do? Throw Tario back in jail? Hopefully. That'd be nice. But, like, who goes to jail for this?
I mean, we could just do it where every single time they mess up something, another person gets sent to jail. Sure. Eventually, you empty out the entire organization.
Yeah, but I don't see the judiciary actually following through with any of this right now.
Not with everything else that has to go on at the moment.
No. And it's not that there aren't judges out there that would do good things, but the prosecutors have to decide to prosecute that, and if all the prosecutors are leaning Trump heavy, they ain't gonna. Oh, trademarks are civil rather than criminal. Yeah, but doesn't it eventually cross the line into criminal if you just don't pay for long enough?
I think it depends on the amount of money that is considered on the line there, doesn't it?
This is $2.8 million. It's not nothing.
Well, no, I'm saying it depends on how much total is part of the case. Because, like, for instance, for theft doesn't theft jumps up in what kind of crime it is depending on how much money was taken. So, yes, the suit right now is for that much, but if they start violating it, it would be based on how many dollar amounts were done up to that point, right?
Oh, yeah. So, like, hand over all your profits to the church because that's their trademark and they could have theoretically cornered that market. Watch the church sue for copyright infringement. I have mixed feelings about this because churches get away with so much shit. So much copyright infringement shit. Like, they'll just straight up take the Coca-Cola logo and change the text to read Jesus, but it's still the Coca-Cola logo, and nobody will sue them for it because no company wants to be seen as the one that sues Christians.
But don't worry, they're the prosecuted one or persecuted ones.
Yeah.
Not prosecuted.
No, they're not prosecuted famously. That's the whole issue. But yeah, so I have mixed feelings about a church now owning a trademark that they can now sue other people. Okay, stop with you people differentiating between copyright and trademark and shit. Like, I'm not a fucking lawyer. I don't care. The intellectual property shit. Or tell me that's a third one. I don't know. I ain't a law talking guy. There's a reason I'm on YouTube and Twitch instead of in a courtroom. Anyway, Tario released a statement, and of course he's talking about how horrible this retribution is against them. This is a betrayal of justice. The judge should be impeached. The same shit we hear from Trump all the time anytime he's in court.
My guy, you could have just gone to the court.
Yeah. And he says, we've got to do everything in our power to make sure that the next 4 years sets us up for the next 100 years. That's a terrifying remark.
That is a terrifying remark because that's no different than the 14 words.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I didn't quite catch that. I was just more like, this is just very obviously like they have a long-term plan. And like this is the Proud Boys we're talking about.
We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children.
I don't have the 14 words memorized, Cyrus, and I'm a bit suspicious that you do.
Agamotto says the 14 words. It's what I just stated. The 14 words are we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. It's typically used by fascist organizations to argue that they need to make sure that there's more white babies and less brown babies.
And it was directly referenced by Elon Musk right after he gave his Hitler salute.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, a little bit of funny news, but scary that these people exist and are being pardoned by the president.
It's funny but spoopy.
Yeah. Thank you for resubscribing, Midnight Lilacs. There we go. Midnight Lilac9 just resubscribed. Thank you for that.
Nagi Bree says the 14 words are heck yeah, white people.
Basically. Okay, so speaking of Nazis, want to talk about a police union?
I don't know if I want to talk about a police union, but you said police union and Nazis in the same breath, so
well,
maybe I'm on board.
This is just me generalizing and saying that law enforcement agencies in the United States tend to be touch on the fascisty side.
A touch?
Just a smidge.
Sorry, I'm willing to be the person that says unions are good and based, but if you're a police union,
I mean, so the story itself isn't about Nazis, but still fuck this union. So this was sent to me by Progress Only. It says, Police Officers Union says man who posted video of police doing donuts is a snitch. First off, can we just take a moment to appreciate the humor in police officers doing donuts in their cars?
That thing that they get onto other people for doing because
no, not that. It's a donut, Cyrus. It's a
donut.
And they're cops.
It's a joke because they're fat.
The pigs are eating their donuts. and the people who post videos of it are snitches. Yeah, so but you basically hit the nail on the head for the story. Police union said the man who posted a video of the police officers doing donuts in the snow was snitching. So, yeah, they did donuts. He took a video. He posted it. And then the Houston Police Officers Union went on Facebook, called him a snitch, and shared photos and videos of the person who posted the picture from, like, years ago when he was doing traffic violation stuff. As if to be like, well, this guy doesn't have a perfectly clean driving record, so who is he to say the cops can't do donuts?
He didn't claim that he did, though.
No, he didn't.
Like, tu quoque is a fallacy for a reason, my guy.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And so Brown, that's the guy that posted the video. He said, the officers were having reckless fun and doing exactly what they told citizens not to do. So yeah, in this case, it's like he has direct experience with being told you can't do shit like this while driving. So I can understand why he would be pissed about, like, oh, that guy over there in that car, that maybe even that officer specifically pulled me over and said you can't drive like this, is now driving like this. What the fuck? And the union,
idea that police are immune from that stuff has baffled me for years.
I recall a moment when I had just learned how to drive and I was sitting at a red light, and I remember seeing a cop who was also sitting at the red light, but he was in the left turn lane. And at one point he turned his lights on, blew the red light, and then turned his lights off, right off as soon as he was through. And that moment has stuck with me for years, because it's just like, I guess the rules just don't apply. Like, what do I even do here? Like, he's like, they're not supposed to be allowed to use their emergency lights just because they didn't feel like waiting for the light to turn green.
Not supposed to be able to, but they do it anyway. Like, there are people who join the police force for good reason. I have police members in my family. I understand that there are people who legitimately get into it because they want to do good. But I think it's a good idea to also recognize when you are just part of a giant corrupt organization. From the top down. And this is one of those scenarios. Yeah. It's in the funny way. Well, where, like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's still very obviously not right.
Well, the police union president, Doug Griffith, said, "We are human. We like to have a good time, just like they do." It's like, okay, so next time you catch me doing donuts and you pull me over, do I get to just be like, "Oh, come on, we all just like to have a good time here," or are you going to give me a ticket?
Yeah, you just get to go, I'm human just like the rest of you, so I want to have a good time. If it's a reasonable excuse for the police officer, it should be a reasonable excuse for the civilian.
Yeah. The police union made fun of Brown for his cracked windshield on Facebook and called him a snitch. And then in the interview, the police union president said he took it a little serious, and then things went off the rails a little bit. Like, a powerful organization that also worth mentioning, this is Houston, Texas. The guy who posted the video is black. So, like, there's a dynamic there.
Yeah.
That you should be aware of. So, like, to have the police union bullying one of the citizens for posting a video being like, hey, this is not appropriate behavior on behalf, like, from the cops, to respond to that with bullying and then just be like, you took it too seriously. We were just kidding around. It's just a joke. We're just doing japes. It was just a little bit fun.
But you wouldn't have considered it just kidding around if you had caught somebody else doing it.
Yeah, like, if the guy that caught them doing it, if he had been caught doing donuts, there is a non-zero chance that he would just be shot dead because of the color of his skin.
I mean, we are in America, and statistically that is the case.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, no, you don't get to defend yourself by being like, oh, no, we were just poking fun at him. Like, it's just japes, just japes.
He took it a little seriously. Like, you're the one with the power dynamic in your favor. You don't get to determine when a joke has gone too far.
Here's the thing. I joke around with my kids quite a bit. Sometimes the jokes do go a little bit too far and feelings are hurt.
Yeah.
At that point, my response is not to be like, oh, I was just joking. I can't believe you're getting hurt by this. I mean, it's just a joke. That's not my response. My response is, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll stop doing that now.
Yeah, it's recognizing, like, it is...
I now know where the line is.
It is a responsibility of that person to go, oh, a boundary has been drawn, especially if you're the person who just has more social awareness because you have more experience, because you're older. You recognize, the boundary is here.
I don't think the president of the police union has social awareness.
I don't think he does either. I think he's not disenfranchised. That's not the word. Disconnected? Definitely disconnected. But regardless, the fact of the matter lies, if you are the person with the power or the experience, when somebody else says, hey, you've taken it too far, you don't, as the person with the power and experience, go, no, I haven't. I'll show you what taking it too far looks like. You don't be that person. That's what a piece of shit does.
You know what it looks like when you get too far?
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now.
Because you went too far.
You did go too far. It hit the cervix.
I have been told by credible sources that is not always a bad thing.
I have been told by credible sources as well that it's not always a bad thing, but it depends on the person.
And the way it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they also posted videos of this guy ghost riding his own vehicle. So, like, he put cruise control on at a very slow speed and, like, climbed out on his hood. Which, like, yeah, that's reckless. Yeah, I don't think you should be allowed to do that. But the guys that gave you the ticket for that should also not be allowed to do stuff like that.
Yep.
And I don't think that is controversial. I don't think that should be controversial.
No, I think that there should be no such thing as rules for thee and not for me.
But then what Griffith said, this is the police union president again. He says, you can't do what he does in public and then go and call out others. Absolutely you can.
What? I'm sorry, you can. You can. You can do something, recognize that it's wrong, and also point out when somebody else does it because you know that it's wrong. I
think I summoned Neuromptipus with my Tucker Carlson clip.
You hear the Tucker. You summoned the fucker.
You've been a bad girl.
God damn it.
Which is worse, that or the uwu?
I don't want to answer that question honestly. Uwu. I think I can answer that question honestly. I think I can now. And
Please don't tell me that I just came.
I'm sure there were more words after that.
I should not be allowed to have a soundboard.
You should not. No.
So
and when I get a soundboard, I should be able to point out that you shouldn't have one.
Yeah, just take the clip of me saying I shouldn't have a soundboard and play that anytime I use my soundboard. So Brown, again, the guy that got the video of the cops doing donuts, said it sets a bad precedent when police ask citizens to speak up, but when someone does, the union goes after them. Yeah. They're trying to be dismissive of their behavior by saying the young men were doing something similar, but do two wrongs make a right? Says Kimberly Dodson, a criminology professor.
Red Bomber says I'm bashing DEI in case it wasn't clear. I don't see anything in your post that says anything about DEI, but if you want to be a dumbass in my chat, I'm perfectly willing to ban you if that's what you're fishing for. Anyway.
With the DEIs cause plane crashes.
And, yep, DEI cause plane crashes and cause my daughter to put seed in belly. Wrong. Bad.
Just for the record, anytime somebody says that, like anytime anybody complains about DEI, that is basically what I picture. Just an ignorant hick who doesn't have the fucking slightest idea what they're talking about.
Yeah,
because
that's usually what it is.
99 times out of 100, it's an ignorant hick that doesn't know what they're talking about.
No, they have a very strong opinion on it, usually informed by Fox News.
But I mean...
And I stopped caring after that point.
Now, I am self-aware. I did just get a hat. So, like, as I'm saying that I'm, you know, criticizing people for appearing to be ignorant and silly or whatever, I put on my fascinator for my Twitch stream. I know what I am. I'm a fucking streamer. If you take me seriously, then there's a problem. But
look, if Tucker Carlson can have the legal defense of not being taken seriously, so can we.
Was that Carlson? I thought it was Alex Jones.
It was Carlson, because Fox News had to do a case defending him.
Oh, right. Jones was, I'm playing a character.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Red Bomber says, no, my previous post. Yeah, I didn't see what your previous post was.
Yeah, believe it or not, we have lots of chat messages that we don't read, and there have been times when I've like gone back and rewatched like little bits of it, and I see people in the chat being like, "Oh, he's ignoring me again." You're like, I'm not ignoring you. I just don't. I don't have the bandwidth to pay attention to the two chats that are going as well as do the stream.
Yep.
Van Briggs says I'm the prettiest streamer. Thank you, Van Briggs. But that's only because my partner's not streaming. She's not.
That's
even,
where you just.
She's not even watching this one, so I don't even get brownie points for that.
Just be Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3. What are you talking about? Of course, I'm God's favorite princess.
Heidi! I just think you should know that I just called you cute on stream for everybody.
My God, what a fucking simp. I thought you wanted me to go. Anyway, I should probably go simp for my girlfriend.
Okay, well, you're cute. And I told the stream that. And then I realized you were doing schoolwork, so I'm like... Yeah, no, I had to...
Spectacular, thank you for resubscribing.
I interrupted her schoolwork to make her come here and appreciate me calling her cute.
That's...
I don't know whether that's good or bad.
That's a certain kind of special.
Okay. All right, next story. So remember when the Nazi known as Elon Musk did the Nazi salute, and everybody was like, it was a gesture that resembled a Nazi salute.
Mm-hmm. I remember that one.
Yeah, well, a Michigan priest was defrocked after making a gesture that appeared to be a Nazi salute. It's like, no, he did a Nazi salute. Have you seen the video of him?
Of the priest?
Of
no.
the priest. Okay, well, this was sent to me by Scott Dillahunt. Let me see if I can pull up a video real quick. New window.
I guess we have to see the Michigan priest doing the Nazi salute, because that's just a thing that we do now in America.
Okay. No, we don't need the whole 2 minutes. Nope. I don't want your commentary on it. I just want to see. No, mute. We don't need to see it. Okay. Oop.
Oh, I saw this fucker.
Yeah.
Yep, that.
Yeah, so he did that
okay.
while referencing Elon Musk and saying "My heart goes out to you." So like that's a still shot. His in a vacuum, I would be more willing to grant his as just being that was a weird way to do "My heart goes out to you."
Yeah, but we can't really view it in a
this
vacuum.
Isn't in a vacuum.
Yeah, no, we
Thank
can't.
you for the hydrate, Artemis.
Like, no,
So
why would we?
Less than Lucid said defrosted. Save that for OnlyFans.
Why do we have to live in a world where the church leaders are just doing the Nazi things again, like they did last time?
To be fair, the boss, his bosses kicked him out of the church for this.
Good.
So yeah, a Michigan priest with the Anglican Catholic Church has been removed from his position for making what appears to be a Nazi. No, it's just a Nazi salute. Stop. I mean, okay, I get from a legal perspective, they kind of have to, like, this is the alleged thing, but like,
I'm just gonna say stop being a coward.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. It's a Nazi salute.
Like, I don't know. This is one of those things where it's like, I get why you're doing it. But, like, we all saw it. We all know what that gesture is.
Let's call it Sig Heil, spade a spade.
It's not alleged. It's right there. It's in front of your face. It's on video. You showed me the video. I watched the video on your platform, and you're saying it's alleged that this happened? That's in the video? Like, yeah, I mean, I guess when AI gets good enough at deepfakes, then it will be reasonable to say alleged when it's a video, but, like, AI is not this good. Not yet.
I mean, have you seen the Will Smith eating spaghetti? How AI models rendered that a year ago and how they render it now?
No, I haven't.
It is kind of scary seeing how much better AI has gotten at deepfakes.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree, but I don't know. It's. So yeah, for deepfakes, it is kind of scary, but like, I'm also thinking from the artistic perspective. I think there's I don't think it's ever going to cross the gulf of human creativity. Because like right now, like, is when you ask ChatGPT a question or when you tell it to generate an image for you, it doesn't understand the words that you typed in. It doesn't get it. It is just like, this word becomes this number, which goes into the calculation in this spot, and then that impacts the random noise that gets generated by things that are close to that number that represent other words. Like, it doesn't have a fucking clue what you're asking it to do. And I don't think it ever will.
I don't respect AI, and I don't respect people who use AI when there are better alternatives available to them. So, fun fact, there was a VTuber who I'm not going to name because I don't want to be that kind of person, but there was a VTuber who I was going to raid, who I've raided in the past, and then I saw that their opening screen was about 6,000 AI generated images, and I say 6,000 because it was an animation where the images were played one next to each other, so it looked like a psychological morph thing. But you could tell that it was AI generation because you can tell when it's getting you a close approximation of the previous image for the next image, because that's just a thing AI does.
Yeah.
So I was watching that and I'm like, oh, I don't want to support you anymore. I'm sorry. There's too many artists in my community who I respect to send my community over to you. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything to them because it's not worth the confrontation. And I didn't say anything to my chat about it other than mentioning like, oh, they're using AI. Fuck them. Didn't say who it was. I'm never going to say who it was.
I will confess that I use Photoshop's generative AI out of laziness.
You're also not standing on top of a industry that is built on the backs of artists' hard hand-drawn work.
I also have an artist on retainer, so
it's like for it's especially a slap in the face to me for VTubers, because as VTubers we don't exist without artists doing that hard work. So
Fennec's got the paddle out. You know what that means.
You're getting a vigorous spanking because you've been a bad girl.
Anyway, you were saying VTubers wouldn't exist without artists?
Like, VTubers would not exist without artists. It's an industry that cannot exist without artists making the stuff for us. So spitting in the face of those artists by using AI generation pisses me off. It really does if you're going to be a VTuber.
So I also, basically the only thing I use it for is the background on my thumbnails.
Yeah, a nothing but of noise.
Yeah, like it's literally like, if I didn't use AI, it would just be gradient bucket tool, drag and drop, boom. done. Couldn't like go scroll through my my videos page, and you can see when I made when you can pretty much see when Photoshop released their generative AI, because I either used a still image from my psychedelic background things that I used to use, or I used a red and black gradient, and that was it. Those were my backgrounds. And then Photoshop released generative AI, and suddenly my backgrounds are slightly more interesting, but still just kind of random meh noise. So if AI were to go away, I would be fine. If the artist were to go away, I need my artist.
You do.
Who else was going to draw a dung beetle lifting weights for me so I could make a stupid joke about pretending not to know what dung beetles would lift? And I actually, that one was fun. So I did, out of curiosity, I was like, oh, I'd kind of like an image for that. I don't know if maybe Piper's got too much on their plate right now, so I'm like, oh, just quickly see what an AI image generator whips up, and I typed it in and was like, oh, that is shit. And then I just copied and pasted my prompt for the AI thing, sent that to Piper, and Piper immediately got back with like the drawing and was like, oh, there it is, and that's actually cute. It's actually what I said it should be, and they offered to turn it into an animated GIF for me, so it was actually lifting the weights. I'm like, humans will always be better. Neuromdiput says, hey, what about the unicorn? Gay Unicorn Gary?
Gay Unicorn Gary.
Gay Unicorn Gary. You can buy his holy merch at merch.vicerhino.com.
Jesus Christ.
No, Gay Unicorn Gary. Jesus Christ is a different deity.
Jesus Christ bless Gay Unicorn Gary and all of his holes.
Absolutely. I know you don't watch my videos anymore, but there was one that I forget if it's the one that's releasing this Friday or the one that released last Friday. But BB-8 was positioned such that it looked like his antenna was sticking right up Gay Unicorn Gary's skirt. And I didn't notice it till I was halfway through recording, and then I'm like, fuck it.
Genie says the merch has holes. It does if you want it to.
Is there a Gay Unicorn Gary plushie? No, there is not, because it is surprisingly expensive to produce a custom plushie for people to buy. And I don't have the kind of audience to make the expense worth it. It's of the Gay Unicorn Gary merch, I've sold maybe 10 items, and I'm 3 of the 10. And like the plushies, it costs like thousands of dollars to make it, and if only like 5 or 6 people buy them, it's just like,
reminds me.
Nope.
I want to see what my playmat sales have been. I imagine it's probably going to be very much the same.
Yeah, no, I am not a Linus Tech Tips that I remember to throw to my merch store every single video, and have a dedicated merch team, and set up my own infrastructure, and am negotiating with companies that manufacture things to try and no, I don't. That's never going to... You could give me the same subscriber count as Linus Tech Tips and the same view count as Linus Tech Tips. That is still not going to be me, because I just don't want to deal with that shit. But,
I haven't sold a playmat since November of last year. Okay, that tracks.
Yeah, well, now you're making me curious. Because here's the thing. When I actually mention it, people do buy stuff sometimes. Not much. I've sold 3 things in the last, 28 days? What is the default? Since January 6th. I've sold 3 things.
Okay.
And let's see, what is it? It's all Gay Unicorn Gary stuff. Nobody's buying my Vice Rhino logo. They just want Gary.
They just want Gay Unicorn Gary.
They do. I don't blame them. Gary is a great design. Oh, there's another pillow sold. That means there's 3 out in the world. I was like, I'm the only person with a Gay Unicorn Gary pillow, and then someone else bought one. And we're like, okay, that's neat. There's like me and 1 other person, and then like 2 more people bought them. I'm like, less neat.
It gets significantly less cool the more people that have them.
Yeah. Heidi won't let me put it on the couch, even though it's a couch cushion.
Coward.
Anyway, So, Calvin Robinson, who held the title of priest in charge at St. Paul's Anglican Catholic Church in Grand Rapids, Michigan, performed the gesture, the Nazi salute, at the end of a 25th of January speech at the National Pro-Life Summit in Washington, D.C. So, yeah, a group of people most likely to contain a bunch of Christian nationalists, and he's doing the Nazi salute.
As one does.
This sentence actually kind of made me giggle a little bit. Robinson's license in the church was subsequently revoked, and he will no longer serve as a priest. Like, just the idea of having a license to be a priest. Like, and I'm saying this as someone who is an ordained minister.
Look, if I want somebody to lie to me, I want to make sure that it's all on the up and up, okay?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I'm an ordained minister. You know how I got to be an ordained minister? I paid $25 to some website, and it's like, it's a legit ordination. I can perform weddings and funerals and shit. So it's like, the idea that these churches like actually issuing licenses for whatever for Artemis says goodbye German viewers. Nefarious Name of Doom says why goodbye German viewers? Because the gesture is illegal in Germany. What Musk and this priest did carry a jail sentence, and I believe they do have internet restrictions over there, so that they it's illegal to make, not to show. Okay, so there aren't like internet restrictions where it'll like automatically pick it up and cut off the stream?
I don't think so, but you can't like publish it. So like news organizations and stuff do censor it from what I saw.
Okay. Yeah, and when I say internet controls, it's not like North Korea firewall. You can't go to a website that has this on it. It'll just be more like Twitch and YouTube will be like, oh, we automatically detected this gesture, so I'm going to shut down the stream in Germany. But yeah. And there's a reason for that. Anyway, so his license was revoked. His license to lie to people doesn't exist anymore. We believe those who mimic the Nazi salute, even as a joke or an attempt to troll their opponents, trivialize the horror of the Holocaust and diminish the sacrifice of those who fought against its perpetrators, the statement reads, a statement from the church. Such actions are harmful, divisive, and contrary to the tenets of Christian charity. I mean, the Nazis wouldn't have risen to power without direct support from several different churches. So, debatable, but you know, at least their heart's in the right place. Robinson posted a statement on his Facebook page, and this is just classic defense. So he defended the gesture as a joke in mockery of the hysterical liberals who called Elon Musk a Nazi for quite clearly showing his audience his heart was with them. No, it was for doing a Nazi salute. Like, that is not the, like, okay, did you see the Some More News episode that dropped today? I know I ask you this every week, and the answer is always no, because they always drop their shows on Wednesday. Yeah, so they actually found a clip of Elon Musk from years ago doing a "My heart goes out to you" gesture. You know what the gesture was back then?
What was it then?
He did this at his chest, and then he went like that with both his hands outward, like that, palms up.
So when he does "My heart goes out to you,"
it doesn't look anything
salute,
like a Nazi
now
salute.
He does a Nazi salute.
It's not an awkward autistic gesture. It's like, I have a house full of autistic people. Not a single one of them has ever done that gesture. Accidentally, on purpose, nothing. Nope. It's not a hard thing to avoid.
Not being a Nazi is super easy. You just don't do the things Nazis do.
For the record, in case it needs saying, I am not a Nazi, he wrote. Yeah, no, you can deny it, but you did the thing that Nazis do, even if it was as a joke. Like, at best, you can say you're a Nazi sympathizer, not a Nazi yourself. That doesn't make it better. I didn't join the party, but I voted for them. Yeah, and this really got me kind of pissed off. He went on to describe his attempt at humor as being dry wit in that typical British way.
No. I've had friends who do this dumb shit where they're just like, actually, no, the thing I did was not offensive to you. It was what the Brits do. It was the British thing to do. I don't give a fuck if it's the British thing to do.
My dad is straight off the boat British. Dry wit is very common in my life. Not once has he Nazi saluted as part of dry humor. I mean, I suppose... what's his face? Monty Python actor, kind of an asshole, not Eric Idle. The fuck is his name? Cleese, John Cleese, yes, the one who played Hitler. He has done a Nazi salute as part of British dry humor. But that was the context made that more acceptable. Like, it's very clearly ridiculing Hitler. Like, there's the difference. When a British person does the Nazi salute as dry humor or dry wit, it is to ridicule the Nazis. This guy does a Nazi gesture in his dry wit, supposedly, and it's to ridicule the liberals who thought it was a Nazi gesture. Those are very different things.
Funny, humor is a lot less funny when you're spending the entire time just punching down.
Also, if you have to explain to people later that it was funny, it wasn't funny. Charlie Chaplin literally played Hitler to make fun of Hitler? No. So The Great Dictator. I haven't actually seen the movie, so just preface with that. Take this with a grain of salt. But my understanding is that, like, he very explicitly made that character not Hitler and made the army then or whatever not the Nazis in order to kind of disenfranchise them, to take power away from them, to, you know, I'm not even going to acknowledge your existence while still referencing you in a very clear way. But he also, he didn't give a name to the Nazis. He didn't name the Nazis as the bad guys. He did name the Jews as their target. So, like, it
very obvious.
It was very, I actually really want to see that movie. Because it's a fucking comedy movie that has one of the most inspiring speeches in it. It's fucking Charlie Chaplin, man. The only guy who could pull off that mustache after 1935. But yeah, big difference between making the Nazi salute to make fun of Nazis and making the Nazi salute to make fun of liberals. I made my partner watch the portion of the producers with the Springtime for Hitler number.
Yeah, Springtime for Hitler in Germany.
Yeah.
Winter for Poland and France.
Yeah, she'd never seen that before, and the whole time she's just watching it, like, jaw on the floor. She didn't know the premise of the producers, so she's just like, what the fuck is this? This is, like, yeah. It's like, yeah, no, that's the point. Anyway.
You're feeling the way the audience was supposed to feel.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Unfortunately, ended up being too funny. This was I posted on Blue Sky earlier today. It was like one of the things that kind of gives me hope is that fascism does not do well when it's ridiculed. It is very, like, it's very obviously how Charlie Chaplin did the mustache first, I know, and he did it better. And that's one of the reasons why he could still pull it off after 1935, because he was well known for it before Hitler. Anyway, so one of the things that gives me hope is that fascism does not do well with ridicule. And in Germany in the 1930s, Hitler controlled that by controlling the media. And the media was very limited. It's the newspapers, it's radio, it's TV. Now with the internet, Trump can't stop people from making fun of him.
You can't control it the same way.
No, you can try, but it's not doable, not to the same extent, and so that does give me some hope.
Okay.
Anyway, so he continued on after saying that Nazi salutes was dry British humor by saying, it was not a joke at the expense of World War II, nor an admission of my membership in the National Socialist Party. Okay, that's just like, mwah, that is the perfect.
Most modern day Nazis specifically spell out National Socialist Party.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that is such a perfect, like, example of the stupid language game that neo-Nazis like to play. It's like, oh, you're calling me a Nazi. A Nazi is defined as someone who is a member of the German National Socialist Party. I'm not a member of that party, so I can't be a Nazi. Mm-hmm. It's like, I just happen to agree with everything that party stood for and would have joined that party had I been around at the time. But yeah, no, I'm not currently a member because they don't exist, so it's impossible to be a member. Therefore, it's like, yeah, no, that's you're telling on yourself by saying that. That it would be an incredibly ignorant and bad faith assumption to make to assume that he's a member of a party that doesn't exist anymore. It's like, no, that's not what the word Nazi means today, man. Like, come on.
The name has shifted. It now is closer to the word fascist. Mm-hmm. It doesn't describe Mussolini's government anymore. It describes an ideology. It describes a way of thinking. It describes a way of operating as a group.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with my notifications, but I see that Duct Tape Jake just subscribed, so thank you for subscribing. But I'm not getting the little pop-up thingy. So it's either on a severe delay or, I don't know, something.
Ah! Hello.
There
Hi,
it is.
You
there
bit
it is.
Me.
Severe delay. There we go.
Hi, honey. How are you doing?
I'm excellent, darling. How are you?
Not you. Fuck off. I just sat here.
I mean,
and then my shoulder got bit by Saki.
Okay, well, I was going to let this just come up in alphabetical order like I normally do, but since we're on the subject, let's go to our first tweet, which is not a tweet. It's a I'm leaking our DMs right now, guys. This is
You're leaking our
direct
DMs?
messages from between me and Cirrus.
Oh no! How dare you? How scandalous!
Yeah. So, just out of nowhere, oh come on. Why is it not there? Boop. There we go. So out of nowhere, I just get this message from Cirrus that says, spanking rim jobs? I guess sign me up. Before this, I had sent him a video of, it was from Kunk on Earth, where she's interviewing a philosopher and is like, when I play Sonic the Hedgehog, if I don't have free will, is that Sonic the Hedgehog playing me, or is that the universe playing Sonic the Hedgehog through me? And philosopher answers, the universe playing Sonic the Hedgehog through you, or whatever. And it was a funny interaction. It was like, it's about Sonic. I think Cirrus will appreciate that. So I sent him the video. This is how he responded, by saying, spanking rim job, sign me up.
Oh, okay. Okay. So now I know where the confusion was.
Okay. So let's finish reading the conversation first, then you can clarify. Okay. So it's like, not sure how you got there from the video I sent. Then Cirrus says, I just woke up, so I'm not even sure how I got out of bed quite yet. Today I learned that Dead Domain, the person who did the NIFB undercover documentary, has a Magic the Gathering channel now. To which I'm like, so are you saying you'll get out of bed if I promise spanking rim jobs while watching Dead Domain's Magic the Gathering stuff? Because that's what I'm getting out of this conversation. To which Cirrus says, I feel like none of us are getting what we want out of this conversation. To which I replied, okay, fine, I'll spank you while licking your asshole. Jeez. So now, sir, now that I've read the conversation, can you tell me how you got spanking rim jobs out of the video I sent?
So, the video you sent was not where I got it from. Somebody sent me a video in one of the chats of I think it was an Indian guy, I'm not 100% certain, that was working with clay, and so he was just smacking the side of a big clay pot as it was being, rotated around on the machine.
I think I've seen that video actually.
So, in my sleep-addled brain, I thought that the video you sent me was that one. So I was just like, yeah, spanking rim jobs, sure. And now I understand why you didn't understand what I was referring to.
I was so fucking confused.
I understand now where we got there, because I woke up, and when I wake up, my brain blends things together, which it is not a good thing. It's why I try to drive as alert as humanly possible, because the last thing I need is the lanes to do that.
Oh, so yeah, so you called me while you were driving for a little bit, I assume as someone to talk to, so you could like be focused.
Basically, because I was,
So
I had an hour and like 10-minute drive to do.
Yeah, so when my partner got home that day, I was like, Kevin was like, hey, guess what I did today? I had a phone call with a friend. Because it's not really something I do. Okay, so yeah, this makes a lot more sense now, knowing that you thought that I sent you a different video.
Yeah, no, that's where we got there from. Now I understand why you were confused, because I also don't tend to look back on those conversations, just like they happened, and then I go on with the rest of my day.
Disappearing messages turned on. You can't look back.
Yeah, I do. So when the conversations are done, my brain's like, yeah, that's already happened. Why would I go back and reevaluate that conversation?
You know, Rafiki has a whole thing about this.
Yeah?
Doesn't matter. It's in the past.
It doesn't. Ow, that hurt. Why'd you do that? Doesn't matter. It's in the past.
Oh, yes, the past can hurt.
No, my day was I got up in bed, browsed through all of my chats to catch up on like where things were. Crucio X Legion, thank you for the subscription. Gifting a subscription. And I saw on Twitter that Dead Domain had done apparently their 10th episode on their podcast for Magic. And it took me a minute to even recognize that it was a Magic podcast, because the name of it was like something ATOG. And ATOG is one of the like early banned cards from Magic's history. So I was like, oh, Dead Domain plays Magic. That's interesting. And it didn't occur to me that the name of the podcast was that because it was a Magic podcast. That's how sleep-addled my brain was. I couldn't put two and two together on anything. And so I contacted
nice
Dead
day
Domain.
For fishing, ain't it?
Yeah, I just contacted Dead Domain and went, hey, we should do an interview. And apparently I managed to get all of that scheduled while my brain was barely functional. Nice. I don't even know how I did that. So I'll have Dead Domain on my channel tomorrow, and then I'll be on their channel talking about Magic next week. I don't even know how I managed that in the state I was in, obviously.
You sent them a message for asking for spanking rim jobs, and they were like, ooh, I am intrigued.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sure that didn't happen. I don't know what Dead Domain's opinion is of spanking rim jobs.
I guess I have to ask tomorrow during the interview.
This is one of those things where, like, I know just enough about Dead Domain that I could probably get myself in trouble by just, like, accidentally crossing a line. So, like, I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway. Frank Turek, going back to the classics today, says, when a doctor delivers a new baby, the doctor doesn't invent the gender of the child. He or she looks at the child and says, it's a boy, or it's a girl. It's not like they're randomly saying, well, let's say this is a boy, or this boy is a girl. We'll assign that. So... What?
That's not how that works at all, Frank. What?
I feel like Frank has had the difference between sex and gender explained to him a bazillion times before. But, like, also, like, even in the sex assigned at birth thing, like, it's not always clear. Intersex people exist. And even if intersex people didn't exist, I was going somewhere that also assumes they do exist, so that doesn't, my intro there doesn't, okay, I short-circuited my brain. What? I did not sleep well last night.
We're all sleep-addled brain people today.
I did not sleep well last night. I had a, one of the kids woke up in the middle of the night, crawled in bed. That was on Heidi's side of the bed. Didn't really affect me that much. But then the other one started calling out. And so I was like, okay, well, Heidi can't get out of bed because there's a kid over there, so I'll go take care of that one. Even though we're making progress. They used to, if I showed up after they called, they'd be like, no, not you, mummy. But we are making progress to where if I show up, they'll still be disappointed, but they'll let me do the thing. And so he was just coughing a lot and needed his puffer. So I'm like, sure, fine, whatever. I did that. And then a few minutes later, he crawled into bed with us. So now there's 4 people in our bed, and it is a king size bed. So it's a good size bed, but, the one that was in between me and Heidi is the one that likes to cuddle. And I have this weird thing where I cannot sleep if I am being touched. And
reasonable.
Like at all. Like one of the ways that Heidi can keep me awake while I am going on a long drive is she can like just like kind of caress the back of my head, something that would put a lot of people to sleep. But I'm just like, nope, you are touching me, so I cannot fall asleep. And so when he joined us in bed, he was cuddling me in such a way that his nose was pushed up against the middle of my back. And this is also the very snotty child, so like it was gross and wet and I'm being touched and like, so like, yep, nope, that's my sleep is done. I'm just going to lie here and pretend like I am asleep for the next 4 hours. So yeah, anyway, back to the doctor thing. What I was gonna say is that there are like, here we go, Clueless Expert says, can that magic vision see the baby's gametes though? And yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at is that there are people that have external male genitalia, but genitalia. It always throws me for a loop because I don't know where I picked it up, but genitalia isn't actually a word. It's genitals.
I've always heard genitalia as a word, and if anybody tells me it's not, they're wrong, and they should probably stop talking. But that said, I think what you're trying to say is people who have forward-facing female genitalia, but internally their gonadal structure is not that of ovaries, but it's actually like ovotestes. Stuff like that can happen, where you've got somebody who, for all intents and purposes, the doctor would go, yeah, that's a female, because the things we see on the outside are the female things, but the things on the inside are not
at birth. They don't do a sperm count at birth.
And even if they tested those things, that doesn't mean that the actual identity of that being, when it's old enough and can consent to, identifying, it says nothing about where they're going to end up then.
Yeah, FedEx says you don't produce sperm at birth. I mean, I'm not gonna. I don't know enough about it to disagree with that, but I thought that there was always sperm being produced. It just didn't have any way to come out until, puberty made things happen. But, and chromosomes aren't the whole picture. Yeah, I know. We are trying and failing to flesh that out. But yeah, no, there was a case of. I'm trying to think of. Okay, this is the part I hate about streaming is when I remember something, but I can't remember where I read it. Because I know there was a guy who had a penis, had testicles, had a wife and kids. Everything's working fine. Didn't find out till he was in his 40s that he had a fully functioning uterus inside of him that was producing eggs.
Yep.
So
weird shit happens.
What like he had male external genitals, he produced sperm, had kids, identified as a male. He says, I'm a man. But he also produced eggs and had a functioning uterus that could have carried a baby to term. He'd have to give birth by C-section, but could have still carried a baby to term. So what sex is that? It's both. And actually, so Katie Montgomery has started YouTubing again. And she had a video where she was responding to a PragerU video on sex and gender. And one of the things that she pointed out is that if you have, and I'd never thought of it this way, so it's really helpful to think about it this way. So if you have a trait that is binary, so let's say big gamete, small gamete, it's binary, you produce one or the other, or like those, like that is the trait that is binary. There are big gametes and small gametes, nothing in between.
Yeah.
The PragerU video talked about it throughout the entire animal kingdom, so that's just not true, but let's just assume that's true. If you have a binary trait, then automatically you have 4 states that trait could exist in the organism that has that trait. You could have one, you could have both, you could have neither, or you could have the other.
I didn't think about that. I've always thought about the things that are in between, The fact that even in binaries there's at least the 4 options, that has never occurred to me before.
Yeah, because like if the trait is truly binary, then that means the presentation of that trait has 4 options, at least. And then when you combine binary traits, because like you also are either X or Y, if we ignore all the ones that are in between. So let's grant that that's a binary. Okay, now we have 2 binaries combining, so that's a total of 8 potential states, I think, if I did the math right. I didn't do very well in data management.
I am going along with you on this one because numbers are beyond me. When I've got a spreadsheet in front of me to help me, I'm great. When I'm doing it off the top of my head, I'm dead.
Yeah. So it's like you have these 2 binary traits, minimum of 8 states that they could present in. So why are you saying sex is binary when there are these different things that they aren't even binary categories?
Oh, my bottle's empty. I have to go back here. Guys, can we get that sound clip of just Rhino going, "Aw, my bottle's empty"? Way funnier than it should be.
Ooh. Is that a Nightmare Before Christmas reference?
No.
Yes, it was.
And if it wasn't, it is now.
She was flashing her legs at me.
Oh. How was that a Nightmare Before Christmas reference?
Because Sally does that to distract Oogie Boogie Man. That was the motion that she was doing. I don't know. 4 by 4? So it's 4 times 4, so that'd be 16 options. You don't remember that? When Sally distracts Oogie Boogie Man from Santa with just her leg?
I haven't seen... Man. The last time I saw Nightmare Before Christmas, I can't actually talk about that on stream. Never mind. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, so I knew this was going to happen eventually, but the math people are correcting me. It's 16. So when you have 2 binary traits interacting, there's 16 potential options.
Jesus.
And then, of course, we're getting the... they'll say sex is a binary with exceptions. If there's so much as one exception, it's not a binary.
It stops being a binary.
Bimodal distribution.
Yeah, it stops being that once you have the extras there.
And then, of course, animals that switch sex based on populations. And what's great, though, is that, like, you get the PragerU video where they talk about how the whole animal kingdom is a binary. It's either male or female. Every animal needs a male and a female. Like, never mind
Except
the lesbian...
for the ones that don't.
Never mind the ones that reproduce by parthenogenesis, the ones that reproduce asexually. There's all sorts of different options. There's algae that have, like, the gametes are not as differentiated as ours are, so like you can't really tell a lot of times.
Then they'll respond by saying
mushrooms
humans aren't
that have tens of thousands of sexes based on gamete size. Fennec saying there's a lizard species with 3 different types of males. Sure, I believe it. I haven't heard of that one before, but nature's weird. So like PragerU brings nature into it, saying they're all binary. We can demonstrate it absolutely is not the case. But then when you do demonstrate, the goalposts suddenly shift and be like, oh, yeah, but the humans are binary.
Yeah, they'll say it's just the humans we're talking about.
Then why did you bring up animals?
Yeah, why did you bring up all these other things that you're wrong about if they weren't relevant to the discussion? If they weren't relevant to the discussion, then rescind your previous statement. And if you won't rescind your previous statement, we'll just assume that you're wrong. Okay, so I know that's a link to the Wikipedia for it's the side blotched lizard, and I know that with the number sign there, it'll take you down to the sex category on Wikipedia. But the way my brain read that was like, here's a link to Wikipedia. # sex these guys. Oh my god. Actually, you know what this kind of reminds me of? Did you see the video where it was like Ben Shapiro versus a bunch of liberals for on trans issues?
I didn't watch the video, but I am aware of its existence.
Okay, so there was a trans man that was talking to Ben Shapiro during it, and there was no inclination that they were a trans man. They were very, very easily passing, like everything that you would expect for somebody who would be able to just go full stealth mode through life, right? Mm-hmm. And so this person starts talking with Ben Shapiro and doesn't allude to the fact that they're trans, doesn't do any of that, but starts pointing out how you're obsessed with trans people's genitals. And then Ben Shapiro goes, no, I'm not. And he goes, well, yes, you are, because you can't stop talking about mine. Because you can't stop talking about what's between my legs. And Ben Shapiro's like, I didn't ask what's between your legs. And he just starts going off on him like, no, you didn't ask what's between my legs. But what you did do was you did do this, and this on all of your podcasts, on all of your shows, on everything you've ever talked about, where you've acted as if you're at a 30 on trans people and their genitalia, and you can't stop fucking talking about them. And then every single time Ben Shapiro tries to interject even a little bit after that point, the trans man just stops him and just goes, no, you're not talking anymore. When you get to talk, bullshit comes out of your mouth. I get to talk now. Never, ever you. And just, you can see Ben at, like, watching Ben give up. Watching that man actually give up on trying to say anything, because he realizes it will never happen. This person will never give him the ability to speak in this conversation. I'm just like, you know what? That's how you handle a fast-talking salesman. You will remove their ability to talk.
Mm-hmm.
If you've played D&D or World of Warcraft or any like MMO or RPG style game, how do you deal with a mage? You silence them. They are too powerful unless you can clock them in the throat. And how do you do that? Well, if you're in a big debate setting, you just if it's not an actual debate setting.
I was going to say I usually play a barbarian class, so I just smack it with my axe.
Yeah, if you're not in an actual debate setting where you've got the times, you're just like, no. If you are given a fair stage, you're going to be a fucking asshole. You are going to argue for the side of genocide and fascism. So we're just not going to let you speak.
But you know that he went to his platform after that and spun it as like, see, they wouldn't even let me talk. That's because they can't, their ideas can't survive in the marketplace of ideas. Otherwise they would have been able to let me talk and counter it instead of cutting me off.
Yeah, but
that's how
the thing is that if somebody like Ben Shapiro is allowed to talk, then he gets the win. Not because he's right, but because the only thing he knows how to do is spin something. I forget which politician it was, but they were doing an audit with some members of the Republican Party, and this video popped up on my feed. This is why this is very conjecture and not like something that I can hang my hat on. But she basically made the politician agree to only respond to her questions with rhetoric or reality instead of actually going into anything about why they said the things they did. She went, no, we're not going to do this word game thing where you get to get your sound bites in your word games. We're just going to ask you, when we bring up something that you have said on the record, rhetoric or reality. Did you say this because you believe it, or did you say this because this is rhetoric that you need? That's it. And so every single time the Republican tried to justify their answer, she was like, I'm sorry, that's not what we're here to do. We are here for you to say rhetoric or reality. And almost every time when it was something about immigrants or trans people or anything, it was always rhetoric. Every single thing he had said that was bad about immigrants was always rhetoric, never actually reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you notice how they're not talking about them eating dogs and cats anymore?
Because they won.
Yeah.
They don't have to talk about them eating dogs and cats because they won.
I saw someone post on Blue Sky, they're eating the checks, they're eating the balances.
Yeah.
Didn't think of it this way before. Marilana says, also from a purely social construction standpoint, which gender is, they have a standard, not a real man/woman, which implies that there are degrees to gender. And if there are degrees, it's not a binary.
A real man wouldn't do that. Well, if there's a real man and a not real man,
then that implies that there's more than two genders. Anyway, moving on from Frank Turek.
Yay.
Mark Andreessen, who I believe he's some billionaire guy that was on Joe Rogan somewhat recently, and they were talking about debanking and just getting everything wrong, and Joe was just sitting there like, oh yeah, no, that sucks. Ooh, yeah, that's bad. They shouldn't be allowed to do that.
He's
Jamie, do they really do that? Oh, Jamie said they do.
He's the quote centrist voice piece of the right.
How does anyone see him as centrist? I don't know how he is so popular. His show is so fucking boring. I tried listening to it occasionally just be like, I make fun of Joe Rogan, not infrequently. So like, I should at least like be aware of what his show is. So like, I tried listening to it. It's just like, no, this is so boring. This is just two people having conversation about something that doesn't matter to me. Like a billionaire talks to a millionaire about debanking. Like, no, you get like neither of you. Like,
so
no, it's common, just, I don't know.
A common thing that I've heard said, and I'm willing to hang my hat on when it comes to Joe Rogan, is the least interesting part of the Joe Rogan experience is Joe Rogan himself.
Yeah.
You do not go and watch that show for him. You watch for the guests, and then you stick around because he's the lightning rod that brings the guests. But Joe Rogan himself doesn't really carry any of that. He just lights a. He just
through his commentary career, he was able to get connections that nobody else could. And,
yeah, that's basically what it ended up being.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like not every episode of the Joe Rogan Experience is always like right-wing talking points or whatever. Like he has, Cara Santa Maria has been on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that was an interesting episode to listen to, but I will not be going through the catalog to find it.
Bernie Sanders was on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Bernie Sanders has been on it. Flint Dibble. Flint Dibble has been on the Joe Rogan Experience.
It's just that more often than not, it's been used as a right-wing mouthpiece.
Mm-hmm.
More often than not, it has been. And those few episodes where it hasn't been one...
It's because Joe is such a blank slate. So like whoever his guest is, he will just agree with whatever the fuck they say. And so if his guest is a right-wing conspiracy theorist, Joe will be like, "Oh, that's interesting. Wow, tell me more about that." Jamie? Oh, Jamie Googled it, and the first link that Jamie clicked on was the guy who said the thing to me is now, it was their website. And it confirmed what he just said to me, therefore it must be true. So yeah, that's and that's not an exaggeration. That actually happened at least once. I forget who it was, but like they said something crazy, and Joe was like, "Oh, that's crazy, Jamie. Can you verify that?" And Jamie did a Google search, and he was like, "Oh, well, the top result is this." And they didn't say it on the show, but if you go and look at the website that Jamie said that it was the website of the guy that was on the show making the claim. So he literally verified it by checking that guy's website.
Which is not a good way of verifying anything.
No, generally not, no. Anyway, Mark Anderson says, words that are on their way out: problematic, resilience, harm. Seems problematic that those words are on their way out, if you ask me.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Just a smidge.
From what I understand, speaking of words on their way out, didn't Gutsit Gibbon do a video on all of the words in the education system where she lives that are currently being filtered out because of the newspeak?
I hadn't seen that. If she did, I'm sure it's an excellent video because Gutsit Gibbon is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I haven't seen that, but I saw the list of words, and so many of them is just like so much research that has nothing to do with any of the shit that they're trying to filter out is going to suffer because of this. And the stuff that they are filtering out that they're actually targeting shouldn't be filtered out either. So like, fuck them. Like, I legitimately, when I saw that the CDC had pulled down their data set, I went through my my link tree that I have of all the trans-related research, and I downloaded PDFs of all of that research to keep on my hard drive because I don't trust that because a lot of it is hosted by the NIH or the HHS. Those are both organizations that Trump controls now, apparently.
Isn't it funny that one of the first things the Nazi Party did was the book burnings of trans research, and one of the first things...
That was the first book burning.
...that the Trump administration is doing is the modern-day equivalent of a book burning with trans research? God, it's so fucking weird!
Apropos of nothing, this is the book I'm reading right now. Good book. Basically talks about how Berlin came to be the center of LGBTQ research. I don't know how close it gets to the Nazis or if it gets to the book burnings, but this is actually I'm reading this as part of research for. I am working on a video right now that it's what was the book? It's called Gay Berlin by Robert Beachy. And it's basically the story of like it opens with what is essentially the first out homosexual man in modern Europe, and how he advocated for gay rights, and how he saw a surprising amount of success given the time period that he was existing in. It was like the late 1800s. Yeah, this is part of background research for a video that I'm doing that's primarily responding to that stupid New York Times article that was like, we should consider throwing trans people under the bus in order to get more votes.
Speaking of that, just a really quick call out. Fuck Brianna Wu. Just a really quick one. Fuck Brianna Wu. I'm sorry. Doing the whole, actually, it's the trans people's fault. Shut the fuck up. You spent your entire life being a closeted trans person.
She sees the leopard coming for her face, and she throwing up a last-ditch effort. She's throwing up a last-ditch effort to get them to not eat her face. And like, maybe if I show extreme loyalty at this point, they will leave me alone.
Yeah.
And you know what? They might, but they also might not.
Yeah, I just cannot stand her.
As much as I also say, fuck you, Brianna Wu, I'm not going to take joy out of... Like, I'm not going to take joy when trans people are persecuted because of this administration, even when it's a horrible trans person like Brianna Wu.
Well, the thing is, I guess the reason that I'm pissed off even more is that I used to be in a group chat with her. So like there was a potential world where this was going to be a friend of mine. There was a potential world where this was somebody who I would have done more work with. And I even mentioned on my channel that like there was a video that I wanted to do on trans legislation that she was going to help out with. But then this weird thing happened where like every day there was some other reason she wasn't able to film it. And now I'm happy that those random reasons, whatever they were, materialized and she wasn't able to film anything because I don't have to have anything that she contributed on my fucking channel.
I mean, there's an alternate universe where I became the Protestant version of Brian Holdsworth. Because I seriously considered going to college to get a degree in philosophy when I was a good little Christian boy, and specifically the philosophy of religion. And given my proclivity for being a YouTuber...
You would have just become Brian Holdsworth.
Yeah, except Protestant. I even have the little hint of red in my beard. I don't have the hair, though. You have
the hint of what could have once been.
Oh, man, that guy's a pretentious asshole.
Yeah.
Next up, we get End Wokeness says, holy shit, the FBI just revealed that 5,000 out of their 13,000 agents were focused on the January 6th protesters. 39% of the entire bureau for this. And then he showed that really heavily edited video that purports to show all the protesters staying inside the railings and not making a scene and like just basically being tourists.
What about the people who went in and like fucking sat at Nancy Pelosi's desk and started threatening to hang Mike Pence?
Or the people that broke the windows to get in there, the people that bashed police officers in the face with fire extinguishers. Like, yeah, I think, what was it, 104 people were injured? 5 people died?
Yeah, I feel like there's a bunch of people. Like, I'm not going to be gaslit on what January 6th was because I was covering it on my channel live as it happened.
On Twitter, in the replies to this, on Twitter, there were people posting like, "Oh, you mean this?" And they'd show other videos from January 6th that show them very clearly not being a peaceful protest. Also, and again, this is coming from Twitter comments, so take it with a huge grain of salt. But it's not the FBI revealed they had that 5,000 out of the 13,000 agents were focused on January 6 protesters. It's that 5,000 employees of the FBI worked on an investigation at some point to do with a January 6 protester.
So they weren't just they weren't resources that were just hung up for years.
Yeah. And also, like, if you remove the category of agent from this, it was 5,000 employees out of the 40,000-ish employees that they have. So that's a much smaller percentage. And it's like, it's just someone that worked on one of the cases at one point. It's not like they were specifically investigating that one person. Well, I mean, some of them I'm sure was some of that, but like it's.
I love my country.
I think people's perception of law enforcement has been too much shaped by the propaganda stuff that is like CSI and NCIS and like all these murder mystery type shows that are done from the cops' perspective. Because in all of those shows, the investigators, like the people collecting the data, trying to solve the case or whatever, they're always focused on one case
at a time.
That's not how it works. They'll have 5 or 6 cases on their desk. They'll do a little bit of work on this one, a little bit of work on that one, a little bit of work on the other one. They jump between them throughout the day. They don't have like in most cases, they don't have one case that they are focused on. So like these 5,000 employees, that wasn't their only case. They were doing other stuff too.
I mean, so technically, that is entirely by design. The idea that the people who work in law enforcement are case-by-case superheroes, like that is the point of propaganda.
Meanwhile, something like, I forget whether it's 40 or 60% of murders go unsolved.
Yep.
And I've heard it said as a joke on multiple different podcasts of like when the subject of like domestic abuse comes up, it's like, hey, did you know that bleach looks like a heart attack and they won't ever question you on it? Just saying. I'm just like, does it? I don't know. I'm not going to Google that. I don't want that in my search history. But
remember, if you, what is it, like 48% or something like that of police are domestic abusers?
It was 40%. 4 in 10. I remember that one because H-Bomber guy made the joke about that, and he made some joke about police officers, and he was like, "Oh, it must be true because like police are like really really good at this thing. Just just look up 4 in 10 police officers, and you'll find that right away." And it's like, nope, that's not what you find when you Google 4 in 10. But yeah, no, those are the ones that there's actually like credible accusations against. That's not, if I remember correctly, it's not. So the actual number is likely higher.
The actual number is probably a lot higher then.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then case orbs, because we're doing the classics today.
We always have to go back to case orbs.
Says Biden just signed up with the same agency that represents Obama. So it's the agency in Hollywood that manages like when they're speaking engagements and whatnot. So
I mean, that's what you expect, right?
Because Biden, the guy who worked very, very closely with Obama for Obama's 8 years as president, signed up for the same agency as Obama because, like, maybe they're still friends or whatever, and so they recommend things to each other. But Kevin Sorbo takes that and says, like I said before, I left Hollywood because they're all pedos. So
no,
Biden and Obama use the same
because nobody
agency, therefore they're pedophiles? How does
Case Orbs, I feel like you left Hollywood because people realized you were a talentless hack and you couldn't get jobs anymore in Hollywood.
Thank you for the hydrate midnight lilac and new hat from is that Jake? Yes, that's Jake. Boop. Octo hat.
Also, it's very funny that saying all people in Hollywood are pedos is not actionable enough as a defamatory claim that he'd be perfectly safe. But if he were to actually name somebody in Hollywood who was a pedo, and then it turned out that they weren't after an investigation, then he would be in hot water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, if he knows people that are pedophiles,
maybe he should report them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all pedophiles. You must have some evidence that they are. Maybe you should do something about that.
Well, I mean, I guess his excuse for that would be like, oh, well, they're in control of everything over there, so there will be no investigation.
Well, then maybe you should roll those dice and find out. Who knows? Maybe you'll manage to save a few kids in a pizza parlor or some shit.
Oh, don't bring that up.
I have to speak their language or they won't listen.
Fucking Pizzagate. That was so stupid. So fucking stupid.
It was.
Another Kevin Sorbo says, funny, the party that arrested and persecuted January 6ers don't believe in borders when it comes to countries. That's the libertarians.
Yeah. I believe in borders for countries the same way I believe in borders for states. They're nice suggestions for legal reasons.
Yeah, that's They are ultimately arbitrary. However, as arbitrary as they may be, governmental systems are necessary. And they exist. And they have borders. Like, borders are the same as gender. It's a social construct that has very important implications for our lives.
It's a thing we made up, but it's a thing that matters to a degree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, like,
I know the idea that a United States person who wants to flee into another country right now has to do a whole application process in order to do so is still baffling to me.
Why? It's the same. That's actually baffling to me, that attitude. It's like, I'm sure you didn't mean it this way, but the way that comes across as a Canadian is like, oh, well, I'm American, so I should be allowed to go into any country I want.
Okay, so let me rephrase. Let me rephrase to make it maybe make a little more sense. I feel like when you have countries that are known allies to one another, you should just have the freedom of movement between those countries. And I feel like to a large degree, the United States and Canada...
European Union is a good thing.
Yes! Yes!
Okay. I can get behind that. The way you phrased it initially was just like, I'm American. Why won't they accept me?
Why won't I be able to go in any country? No, that's not what I'm saying.
Everybody in the world wants to come to America. Why won't they let Americans come to them?
No, it's more along the lines of if we are a known ally with a country, one of the agreements for that allyship should be that the members of both countries should be able to freely roam between the other countries. There's no fucking reason that we shouldn't be able to.
Miss Kitty Doesn't Care says we used to just need a driver's license to cross the border. I remember those days. Now you need a passport. And yeah, it used to be really easy to cross the border. It got harder. I don't want to say 9/11 was the turning point. It probably was, but I didn't really cross the border all that much before then. And I was crossing the border when I was driving with my driver's license, and I was not driving at 9/11. But yeah, I remember when they made that change. For a while, there was like an enhanced driver's license you could get that counted as a passport-ish sort of thing, but it would only work between Canada and the US. Olivia Williams says, as someone who used to be a libertarian, they're supposed to believe in open borders. Yeah, I was also a libertarian at one point, and that's one of the whole sovereign citizen things, is that like, no, your government has no authority over me. Governments are arbitrary. They agree that it's a social construct. They just go the opposite direction and be like, therefore it means nothing, as opposed to therefore it's important to society.
Yeah, it's important to how society functions, but that's not the same thing as this thing is the be all end all. Like, I remember my parents, I don't remember when this argument was had, but there was something about like the something being wrong because it was illegal, and I just stared. I think it was my mom. I just stared at her and just went, slavery. Just like, are we just gonna say things are good or bad because of legality? In which case, slavery. Like, I feel like that's the easy one to go to.
Yep. Yeah. Legal does not mean good. But yeah, no, it's but also, what do January 6ers have to do with believing in borders?
People in I no idea. Probably like, the same thing that
Well, I guess maybe they're saying, like, because they were charged with like things like seditious conspiracy, it's like you're betraying your country, but you don't believe that the country is a thing that should exist. It's like, nah, that's the libertarians. I mean, the anarchists as well, I guess. So we have them on the left as well.
I mean, there's a bunch of people right now who are trying to go for techno-fascism, where we don't have
like Elon Musk?
Yes, Elon is one of them, where we don't actually have a United States anymore. We have a grouping of disparate nation states separate to one another, and they all have their own little rules, and they all have their own little czars, basically.
Hunger Games.
That's there's a channel called Blonde Politics that actually compiled all of the interviews with a shit ton of tech billionaires, and most of them are all like, no, democracy is bad and the United States needs to be done away with and it needs to be replaced with this system. I'm like, oh, that's fucking scary.
Mm-hmm.
That people with money have this opinion, and people with money can then make other people deal with their opinion.
Yep. Okay, Raw Egg Nationalist says, amazing how quickly people forget maybe the worst environmental disaster in American history. Literally apocalyptic. Yeah, no, we haven't forgotten that, but keep in mind that that wouldn't have happened if there was a robust system of regulations around the railroads in the States.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Train derailment is actually shockingly common. That's just the one that got the press because it had the nasty chemicals that started mixing. And also, I'd say the worst environmental disaster is the slow burn that the GOP is doing with regards to climate change. It's like
the one that...
If every single person in Palestine, in East Palestine, Ohio, or whatever, ends up getting cancer early and dying from their cancer, the death toll from that will be significantly smaller than the death toll has already been due to climate change. So, yeah, that was a shocking, acute. That was an acute environmental disaster. That was massive and terrible. But the more broad environmental disaster that's like slow playing in front of us is
the one that gets ignored.
Is the one that is actually just being forgotten about and ignored.
Yeah. Well, people tend to look for shock and awe as their poster child for something happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very hard to point to 15 different small things that all ultimately culminated in something. People are not programmed to see that way. People are pattern recognizing individuals when they give a shit. So what people mostly will look for is the one thing that happened. So in this case, the one trail derailment that was important, or the very, very recent one, the one thing that means America's fascist. We don't have a one thing. That's the problem.
Yeah. No, we just have James Inhofe bringing snowballs into Congress and being like, how could there be climate change? Look at the snowball in Washington, D.C. It's like, yeah, it snowed in Florida. You know why? Because
climate change.
Well, because and this is why they had to change from global warming to climate change. Because yes, the globe is warming, and these the warmer average temperatures can do things like weaken the polar vortex, which allows Arctic air to flow further south than it otherwise would have, and that's why you get snow in Florida. That's why the cops in Houston were able to do donuts in the snow. That is climate change. Yes, global warming can make it colder sometimes because there's cold air up in the Arctic that the warm air normally keeps up there. And
it's displacing now.
Yeah. So. Rothmus says, okay, so Emily May says, can y'all imagine if Kamala were president and she was allowing Bill Gates to casually dismantle our government and then he took over the payment systems in the Treasury? Yeah, it would be...
yeah, people would be freaking out about that.
And rightly so. But Rothmus says that dismantling the government is good no matter who's doing it. I disagree.
I feel like the person dismantling the government... So, dismantling the government is not good no matter who's doing it. And I'm going to go ahead and but I'm going to cite Conquest of Bread as a very, very good blueprint for why this is the case. Conquest of Bread pointed out that during the French Revolution, one of the biggest problems that happened with the workers rising up was that they didn't figure out what should be put in place infrastructure-wise after dismantling the current infrastructure, and it's why they failed. Who is dismantling the government does matter, because the answer of why are you dismantling the government is always going to be followed up with what are you putting in its place. And who is dismantling the government will always have a direct correlation with what is put in place afterwards. One of the things Kropotkin pointed out in Conquest of Bread is that if you cannot solve the problem of bread, which is an overarching term for infrastructure that people need to live.
Is this why it's called bread tube?
Yes.
What even is bread tube?
Good question.
Okay.
Nobody who is breadtube knows they're breadtube until somebody else tells them they're breadtube. I've looked at Rational Wiki, and apparently I'm considered breadtube on one thing and not considered breadtube on another. I don't care.
Am I breadtube?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it is or who it is anymore. But it does matter because the people who are putting something in its place are also usually the people who are trying to dismantle the government. So if you are looking at techno-fascists, the reason that they want to dismantle the government is because it provides checks and balances that prevent them from acting as their own little czars of fucking nations on a blockchain. That's the reason why those people need to be stopped.
Van Briggs says I'm breadtube.
Like, who is dismantling the government is very important to whether or not it should be allowed to be done in the first place. You would not say who dismantles the government doesn't matter if it was actually Hitler marching the Third Reich down into our fucking White House.
It's also like what parts of the government is being dismantled, because most of us, the anarchists and libertarians aside, most of us would agree that some government needs to exist. Government needs to happen. It's just a fact of life.
I'd also argue it's going to happen. It's not so much that it needs to happen; it's that it's just going to happen.
It's like, yes, there is a hypothetical anarchist system that will perfectly replace the government. However, in the real world, that is not going to happen because someone will always consolidate their power and form a government.
Yes.
So I would say that like the people on the right and the people on the left, and like they even disagree with each other, but like we will all agree that some of the government could use with some dismantling. Like I would say the military is a little bit bloated.
And the military is getting more inflated instead.
Yeah, it is. It could probably do with a little bit less. Just a smidge, you know, it's only like you guys are only like the top spenders on your military by like a factor of 100 or something.
And yet somehow we still lost to Afghanistan.
Yep.
Like somehow all of that money and we just suck.
That gives me hope that there's still hope for Ukraine. If Afghanistan can beat the United States, then surely Ukraine can beat Russia even without the United States backing them.
The thing is, with Donald Trump's recent admission that we are going to be going to be trying to occupy Gaza, that gives me no hope where Ukraine is concerned, because that
he's just going to continue on and be like, yeah, no, we'll turn Ukraine into a resort. Fuck him.
He's also been trying to push for us to leave certain agreements that we've had with the United Nations. Which,
I mean, he's already basically said fuck NAFTA.
Which fucking scares me.
As it should. But it's okay. Jon Stewart said he's not a fascist because we voted for it.
I wonder if he's ever going to walk back those words.
I don't know. Oh, John Strand says, exclusive, shocking video of violent FBI raid on Bobby DeGregoris and his family. He was totally innocent on J6, a truly peaceful protester. These fascist government stormtroopers drag his wife and kids into sub-zero conditions, terrorizing them with assault rifles. Pure evil. It's really fascinating to me watching how both the left and the right will flip-flop on their views on cops, depending on who's being victimized.
The cops are good so long as they're beating up the people we like.
Yeah, basically. Because, like, that's the thing. I don't think you can... I don't think if you go back in our catalog, you'll ever hear me talk about the January 6 cops as though they are heroes, except for maybe the one guy who actually did, like, actively lead a bunch of protesters in the wrong direction. By basically, like, waving his arms around and be like, come and follow me, I'm over here! It's like just like Merry and Pippin drawing the orcs away. Like, come and get me, come and get me. It's working. Of course it's working, Pippin, run. So like I might have said that he was a hero specifically, but I will not have used the term hero to describe cops in general. I don't think ever. And like, yeah, I have gotten upset about them beating a cop in with a fire extinguisher. Because that's not because like
I think police are abusive. I don't think they deserve to die.
Police are abusive. Nobody deserves to get smashed into the face with a fire extinguisher, except maybe there's a small handful of people that I would be okay seeing that happen to. But
there's a few I could think of. I don't want to name them.
Yeah, but it has been interesting watching like the left is suddenly supporting cops when it's January 6th, but and then seeing the right be like, oh, this is police brutality. It's like, man, these are the tactics that they've been using for years, and you've been supporting them through this whole thing. But now that they're going after your guys, it's a problem. Like, I agree, it's a problem. Also, I watched the video that he posted. It's nowhere near as bad as what he's making it sound. Like, they basically politely escorted them outside the home before they went in to search it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's not like they busted down the door and started shooting at people willy-nilly like they've been known to do
about
when it's black people.
We take our justice into our own hands, guns blazing.
Yeah, no, they politely escorted them out to the porch, and then they searched the house. Like, it would suck to be outside in the cold of that, and like maybe they didn't give them a chance to get their coats, and that would suck. But it's just weird seeing people on the right be like, oh, these police are it's fascist. It's fascism for these police to be able to like go into a house without permission. And it was like, really? Tell me more. So I don't disagree. Like,
we just want you to be a little consistent, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And then that's it. We're done.
Yay! It's weird because I heard the sound effect that usually means we're done on everyone except for the final tweet this time.
No, you didn't. It's just that one.
Yeah. I heard that for the other tweets.
How? It's not happening.
I don't know.
Like, that's Earth and View's noise when it's like I got to the last item in the folder.
Just do the so after this, look at the playback and see if you hear it, because I
watch my own stream.
I mean, I'm not saying
I
watch
pay
your own
someone else to do my editing for me now. I don't want to do that anymore. Piper,
right,
put together a montage. Montage it up, Piper.
On your end, Piper, prove that I'm right, and on my end, Cherry, prove that I'm right. Ooh, God damn it.
Where your meds are? On my night table. Which, for the record, my night table right now is the dog crate with a cutting board on top of it.
Ah.
So I have ordered a night table that actually is a dog crate that is designed as a night table or whatever, because that's where Puddle sleeps.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it for this one.
Goodbye, everybody.
It's bad timing on that hat. I mean, I'll put it on for the credits, but we're literally over now.
It's all over party.
It's all over party. I will see. Or are you streaming after this?
Yes,
okay.
I've got one more thing I want to cover, and then after that, I've got some World of Warcraft to do.
Okay, I will raid you.
Yay! Thank you so much for the people. I don't know who they are, but thank you for sending them to me.
But first, fuck off.